this week we're gonna make a tear and share, delicious, yum, pizza, flavored, whatever you got, whatever you want kind of bread. This thing's great to take to a, party, if you're going for dinner. It's very simple to make, but it does take a bit of time. Snooze fest, but you can't win them all. But yeah, this is it. This one's got in it some andouille, some sun-dried tomato, and a load of cheese. And I tell you what, it's gonna be delicious. So let's get into it, shall we? For this tear and share, the ingredients are kind of whatever you've got, whatever you like, whatever taste you want to put in it. It doesn't have to be exact to the recipe. It's just kind of portions of stuff. But the one thing that you do need to make sure you have correct is the dough. So once you've got the dough, you can kind of do anything you like. So we'll get the dough working first, because that needs anything from an hour to kind of 3 hours rising, depending on where you live, the temperature of your room, where you can keep it. A really good way to do it is turn your oven on to maybe 50 degrees, and you can kind of prove it in there, because then that's a nice ambient temperature, and it's a really good way to get that dough going, or maybe an airing cupboard, but you just want to make sure it's not too hot of a place. But as with many doughs that we've made, essentially all that needs to happen is for it to double in size. So we'll get the dough working first, and then we'll get all the bits together that we're going to put in it. I'm going to use my machine today because if you have one, why not? Sometimes I love to make it by hand, but for a dough, for a bread dough, if you have a machine, then use it. If you don't, do it by hand. But these guys, they are great for speed and efficiency. Or maybe you've been to the gym and your arms are tired. So, I'm going to use this guy. So we've got 450 grams of bread flour, a high grade, strong flour, better than a plain, but if plain is all you have, then just use plain. We're going to go for 1.5 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of sugar. And then if you're doing this by hand, we want to make sure that you combine these all really, really well before you start adding your liquids. But because I'm using the mixer, I'm just going to pour all them things in and then just give it a little turn to make sure that they're all mixed together. And then we need 7 grams of yeast. I've just got the dried stuff. Great if you can get fresh, but it's not always available. So this stuff is really great, but do be careful. I think I have mentioned it before, that if this has been open for a while, there is a chance that it won't be as reactive as it should. So, if it's been open, I would say for more than probably 6 months, might be time to get some more. You can buy, what are very useful if you don't bake a lot, the packets of 7 gram weighed out active yeast. They're in little packets, but that's quite a lot of waste and lots of things going in the bin. So I do prefer this, but I probably bake a little bit more than the average person may. But we need 7 grams of this. So pop your jug on the scales and make sure to tare it. And make sure that you tare it so it's at 0. And then 7 grams. And you can tell if your yeast is maybe getting a little bit old because it doesn't have a yeasty smell. This, as soon as I've opened it, I can smell that it's yeasty. If that smell has dissipated, there's a high chance that maybe your yeast is not as active as it should be. And now we need about 300 mils of liquid. I had a little bit of milk left over, so I thought I'm going to put this in because it will make the dough nice and soft and supple, but it's not imperative. If you don't have milk, don't worry about it. Just use 300 mils of a nice warm water to activate your yeast. But I'm going to use this bit of milk up because I don't want it to go to waste. And then I will just top the rest up with some nice hot water. Warm in your case if you're just using water alone. But that's 300 mils altogether. So you need 300 mils of liquid. And then just give this a good whisk, and what you want to do is let all that yeast dissolve into the liquid, and then we're going to make the dough. All right, so this has probably had about 5 minutes or so dissolving, and we're gonna put it together in here. What we also need is 2 tablespoons of olive oil, so we'll add that into here. And then we're just gonna turn it on slowly, get them bits combined, and add in our liquid. Okay, so the dough's had 5 minutes kneading. It's a little bit tacky, which is what I want. And it's just about bouncing back, which is perfect. And we're just gonna put a tiny little bit of oil in the bottom of this so it doesn't stick. We're gonna sit that dough in there. I'm gonna put it in the bottom and turn it over so it's greased on all the sides. I'm gonna put some oiled cling film on the top, and then we're just going to sit it somewhere nice and warm until it's doubled in size. Hopefully that'll be about an hour, but it might be 2. My house is a little bit chilly at the moment, so we shall see. And we'll just get the other bits ready for it so that they're all good to go for when we roll it out and shape it. So yeah, we'll pop this guy to one side and we'll come back in a bit. So for the fillings can be whatever you like. Customize it however you like. If you've got some pesto that you made, put that in. If you've got, you know, some leftover pesto from a pasta dish, but you don't have enough of it, chop up some sun-dried tomatoes and add in them too. Do you love olives? Put them in. This is like customization station. This is where we want to get into the things that you love and you want in your tear and share. The only thing that's important is that, well, it's not even important if you don't want it in there, but there's a bit of cheese and something that's a bit oily / pasty so that we can paste it on when we roll them up so there's a little bit inside the whole lot. Basically what you want is about 200 grams of your pasty stuff and about 100 grams plus a little bit more just to grate on the top of cheese if you want to add cheese. So I am going to go for some sun-dried tomatoes. I've got a little bit of confit garlic, which I made. If you want to know how to, I've left the little link up here. It's a great thing to have in the fridge and just like really yummy flavour. So I'm going to use some of the garlic and a little bit of the oil. I've got some andouille, so I'm going to put a little bit of this when I make the paste with the sun-dried tomatoes. And I've got a little bit of cream cheese. So I'm actually going to use the cream cheese to create a little bit of the paste because I thought otherwise you're going to go to waste and I need to use you up. And then it'll just kind of have this nice like creamy, cheesy deliciousness interior. So we'll chop this all up. Like I said, want to create about 200 grams of paste. So I'm probably going to use maybe 50, maybe 25 grams of the cream cheese and then bulk it out with the other things. You know, andouille is a bit spicy. It's also obviously got meat in it, so if you're veggie, don't use it. But, you know, put whatever you like in. This is like, yeah, this is just ultimate tear and share customization. Whatever you want, you put in. But I'm going to chop this all up, make the paste, and then they'll be there ready for when the dough has finished rising and we can roll it out to do its second proof. The only thing that you do want to do when you make this paste is that it's as fine as you can make it because you want to be able to spread it. And also it's good if like for instance I'm putting some cream cheese in, that it very much is room temperature so that we can spread it. So I'm just going to chop all these things up and add them to the bowl. Like I said, I've got it on the scales and we want about 200 grams worth. So obviously the andouille is a bit spicy, so I don't want tons of it because I don't want it to be a really spicy bread. But if you wanted it to be spicy, then oh my god, go ahead and do it because it would be delicious. You could make it like chili and them kind of flavours. I mean, it would be absolutely fantastic that way. I'm also going to use a little bit of that confit garlic oil because it's absolutely delicious and just full of flavour. But we will also use a few of the little confit garlic little confit garlic cloves. They can go in too. I'm actually just going to put them in whole because they're super soft where they've been confit, and they'll just kind of smush up a bit and they'll be great. So that's all them bits in there, and then I'm just going to smush it together and make the paste. This actually wasn't even quite 200 grams. This was about 180, which again, you know, is enough. You just want to be able to have this yummy stuff that you can paste in the middle of it. Yeah, so just like that. So that can sit to one side. Like I said, you kind of want it room temperature, so make sure that it's nice and soft for when you have to spread it. And then I'm just going to grate some cheese, and I think probably this bit of Parmesan I'm going to keep like this, and I'm going to grate all over the top when we go to bake it. Also as well, important to give it a taste. Does it taste like something you want to eat? I think it does. You know, you can even add in here some lemon zest if you had some lemon. I mean, that would be absolutely great. But it certainly doesn't need any salt or pepper because the tomatoes are inherently, you know, they've got a reduced flavour from being sun-dried, so they kind of are salty, even though they're not really salted. The andouille quite salty, and so is the cream cheese. So we definitely don't need to add any salt or pepper to it. And then I've got my grated cheese there, and I've got 140 grams. And that will be plenty, again, to go in the middle. If you didn't have cheddar and you had some already grated cheese, add that in. If you have mozzarella, that would be delicious. Whatever cheese you have, you know, again, this is kind of a bit of what you've got in the fridge going on. So whatever you have, you can use up. And it's great because you end up with this wicked little snack that can be great for even like your kids' lunch times. You could give them a little scroll of it to take to school for them. You know, it can be a little afternoon tea treat, whatever you like, but it's going to be delicious. So now we've got all these things ready. We've just got to wait for the dough. I knew that my house was cold because this took about 2 hours to get to it, but we have indeed doubled in size. We're just going to take it out and we're going to roll it on a slightly floured surface. We'll keep this little bit because he can go on top in a minute. So this is going to go on here. And then we've got all of our prep here ready to go. And this is for sitting them in when we're done. So I'm just going to pop this onto the floured side. It feels really good and soft, which is nice because I probably put a little tiny bit extra milk in, liquid in, just because it just felt a bit dry while I was making it, and it's just much nicer if it's a bit softer. So what we want to do is roll it out into a rectangle as even as possible, because we're going to cut it into 12 circles. So we've rolled it out, we've got our paste ready, it's at room temp. Pop that on, like that. We'll just spread it out. Oh, if you had a palette knife, that would be great. And you want to make sure that you do get it all the way to the end so that every single piece has some in. And you can see here that that goes a hell of a long way. That small amount. So like I said, that was about 150 grams worth of paste. I mean, you know, I said 200 grams originally. Sure, you could put 200 grams in, but it would be very full. So it just depends how much you want in there, or how much you actually have. So we'll just spread that out, and then we'll pop the cheese in. And then we're just going to roll it up into a sausage. So roll it. Like that. And then we're going to cut it into pieces and put it in here. And then we just need to rise it again for another 20 minutes. Now you can keep these bits, but you know, there's nothing much in there. And we're going to go into 12, so we'll go in half. And then this half into 6, so we'll go half again. And what you want to do when you lay them in the container, see here where you have the seam, you want to make sure that them seams are kind of all together so that they don't unravel. And then in half. And that's it, just like that. And then to finish it off, I'm just going to grate a tiny little bit of Parmesan on top. Nothing too hectic, just a little bit. And then I'm going to cover that back up and we're going to let it rise for another, probably going to be half an hour to 45 minutes. And again, these are almost going to double in size, and then we just got to bake it. And that's it. So we'll get these somewhere nice and warm and we'll let them rise, and we'll come back to them in a bit. And there you go. These have had 30 minutes rising and they have pretty much doubled in size. If you left them for a little bit longer, they'd get a little bit bigger, but you probably wouldn't want it much more than that. I've got the grated Parmesan on the top, and we're just going to put them in the oven. So I've turned the oven on to 185, but maybe if your oven wasn't great, you might want to turn it on to maybe 190. And we're going to cook them for 35 to 40 minutes. So I would suggest at 35 minutes to have a little look at them and see how they're doing. But otherwise, that's it. We nearly made it. There they are. And in they go. See you guys soon. Okay. So it's come out the oven, it's had 5 or so minutes resting. I mean, you know, as per usual, it should probably wait longer, but we know me, I'm never gonna wait for it. So, yeah, I think we should just get stuck into this guy. You can just pull it apart. Oh, looks delicious on the bottom. Smells amazing. Oh my God, I mean, look at this. It's gooey in the middle. It's perfectly cooked, it's not doughy, and oh my God, it tastes amazing. A little bit spicy from the ingredient. The sun-dried tomatoes are just great, and then there's some cheese. I mean, what more could you want, really? And today, Brownie's here. Here he is. He's gonna try some too. You tell me what you think of it. It's hot.
Oh yeah. Yum.
Yeah, yum? Yum. Anyways, we're gonna eat this and we'll catch you soon. See ya!